senatorial hopeful Ken Buck. Good morning, sir. And how do you feel since all of this has gone nationwide on you?
Well, I wish I wasn't being recorded. I guess I wish I wasn't saying it, but I spoke my mind on the subject.
What do you think about the birther issue itself?
You know, I think it is, I guess there's two issues, Peter. One, the folks that I have dealt with on the campaign trail tend to dominate the conversation, and I can't get to other issues, and that's the sense of frustration. The issue itself, I think, is, I think that the president has provided evidence that he was born in the United States, and I don't think that the issue itself is going anywhere.
What evidence did you look at to have you come up with that conclusion?
The birth certificate in Hawaii, the fact that the McCain campaign and the Hillary Clinton campaign didn't come up with anything during, undoubtedly a 2-year search for issues like that.
Well, Hillary Clinton didn't come up with John Edwards' girlfriend having a baby either. And as for McCain, do with that as you wish. Now, does that lead you to bring any conclusions about whether or not Barack Obama has lived these 50 years without being able to show any of these documents and then say, well, I just accept it?
Well, the fact that they haven't been released doesn't mean that he was born in the United States or he wasn't born in the United States.
I'm suggesting
you haven't said to me, here is a document that shows that he was born in Kenya.
He has no, and I don't know where he was born. I don't know what he was born. My best guess is he was probably born in Hawaii. But did you read his books?
I have not read his book, no.
Well, please, I would urge you to do that. Simply, he's going to be president when you're going to be in the Senate if that happens. If you go back and read his books, Dreams of My Father, he tells you that he was 2 years old, almost 3, when his father left to go back to school to Harvard. Do you believe that story to be true?
I guess if he's...
Well, it wasn't true. His mother, when he was probably 10 to 14 days of age, moved to Washington State, enrolled in the university. The records are there, where they lived and everything. And they were never married, let alone divorced. They moved. She never came back to the Rock until he went to Harvard. Now, that's a nativity story. That's not true. What he says in his books are not true. And so for you to say that these people were dumbasses for asking questions, Ken, I don't know.
No. I didn't say that, Peter. Let's be fair. What I said was that what I was expressing was a frustration over a few people that have come into meetings and have dominated the meetings to the point where I can't talk about issues that I think are more important and more relevant, like the debt and the health care and other issues like that.
I agree, but why call these people dumbasses for asking you questions?
It's not, I wasn't calling them dumbasses for asking me questions. I was calling a few people that word because they have dominated meetings. Peter, you every once in a while will have someone call the radio station and you need to, push the button to cut them off because they get so impassioned about a particular issue. And that was the frustration I was expressing. I've talked to plenty of people who I've disagreed with on the birth issue and other issues. That isn't the issue for me. The problem was the fact that they dominate a meeting to the exclusion of everybody else in that meeting being able to ask a question or talk about issues that they care about.
You in June, you called Tea Partiers who questioned Obama's birth certificate dumbasses. You said it to a Democratic operative. The quote was, will you tell those dumbasses at the Tea Party to stop asking me questions about birth certificates while I'm on camera? That would lead me to believe that you don't want to respond to the question.
Well, I have responded to the question over and over. And again, my frustration was with the amount of time that it takes up in a meeting to have the discussion with just a few people.
Would you then do something else? Would you look up and include the still concealed documents and records, Punahou School records, Occidental College records, Columbia University records, Columbia Thesis records, Harvard Law School records, Harvard Law Review records, passport records, medical records, baptism records, adoption records? Let's just name a few. The fact that they have spent $1.7 to $2.5 million that the president has spent to prevent any of this documentation to coming into the light of day. Do you think, as a district attorney, if somebody did that to you and you were prosecuting them and they hid all their records, as a DA, wouldn't you think there's something up?
Would I think that it's suspicious? Probably. Would I draw the conclusion that he wasn't born in the United States?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I'm asking you one more time. If you were prosecuting some guy,
Sure, I answered the question. Yeah, I would find it suspicious if someone hid something
all right, so what do you now think?
about whether he was born in the United States or not.
I don't know about where he was born. I say to a high degree of probability, when he was taken to Indonesia, he became a dual citizen, came back, never switched it, stayed, all these things. No one knows. Why else, as a prosecutor, and a damn good prosecutor, you've done great work. If you had some guy that you were looking at on a fraud beef or whatever else, and he had all of these things, including his college records that he claims to have, university records, thesis records, law school records, and he wouldn't show them to you, passport records, and he hired another lawyer to block you as a DA from seeing that stuff, you would have to say, Jesus, there's something wrong with this.
Well, but Peter, the fact that there's something wrong with it and drawing the conclusion that you've drawn.
I didn't draw a conclusion where he was born. I'm asking you, there's enormous questions to this.
Sure, absolutely. Someone that's hidden their past. And I think it's one of the reasons why, when the Denver Post has asked me for records, I've been transparent.
Well, that's you. I don't care about you. We're talking about Barack Obama.
Okay, I was trying to answer your question.
Right.
I do think it's suspicious, given what has happened to me in the last year and a half in this campaign, the requests that have been made and the documents I've turned over. I think it's suspicious if someone doesn't turn over documents.
Okay. Now, what does that then lead you to believe when a birther asks you these questions?
What does it lead me to believe?
Yeah. Are they on to something?
Well, I don't think they're on to something. I'm happy to have the conversation with them. Again, it wasn't the subject matter that bothered me. It was the vehemence with which they pursued the subject.
Well, all those things aside, and I can obviously email, fax you, you can do a web search, you know anything. There are enormous problems in the so-called nativity story of Barack Obama. He has lived almost 50 years without leaving any footprints. Now, if you were up against somebody like that in a fraud beef, in the good work you've done, wouldn't you go, now damn it, and if he spends $2 million to block you from seeing those things, you would look at a grand jury, you look at somebody and say, God, we got to do something about this.
Well, Peter, let me just say one thing. What if he was embarrassed about the fact that his parents weren't married at the time of
his parents weren't married. There's no evidence that they were married.
Okay, so he's embarrassed about that, and
God,
he wants to cover that up.
Who cares? I don't care if his parents weren't married.
Well, I'm saying you're saying that he has a particular motive for covering all these records up. And I'm saying
I don't know what it is.
Motives.
No more than I know where he was born, do I know what his motives are. But when you list a bunch of things, including when you're a man and you're spending money to block people from seeing those documents, forget about whether or not your parents were married. If you're worried that your parents weren't married, why would you block anyone seeing for instance, your Occidental College entrance records? You got to ask those questions, I believe, Ken.
Sure.
And you can't call people dumbasses that do.
Well, again, I wasn't calling them dumbasses for raising the subject. I referred to them that way because of the vehemence with which they were raising the subject and dominating a meeting. That was the statement.
Anything have anything you'd like to say to those guys? Do you apologize for saying they're dumbasses?
I have said I wish I'd chosen a different word. Yes.
Not an apology. Or I wish I was 7'2" and playing in the NBA.
Well, look, Peter.
I'm not sorry. Did you say, gee, dumbasses, I'm sorry? That'd be great. They'd feel good.
Well, I got to tell you, there's 7 or 8 people out there, and I'm not apologizing to them. I think they were rude to me in meetings and the other people that were in the meetings, and, it is a very limited group.
Are you mad that you got taped? Are you mad at that guy?
Well, I think it, I guess I'm mad at myself more than that guy because I should have known that Democrats do that stuff, and that's the way it was.
Well, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either. But I mean, these are like we're going to invite Ms. Norton on tomorrow because she made the same statement to Allison Sherry, and she says she backs the Tea Partiers, even birthers, in the headline in the Post in buck jab. But she said, "Oh, yeah, he's a citizen there." And I said, "We'll invite her, and we'll have the same conversation because if you're going off to D.C. and he's the president, you should be armed with some of this stuff."
Sure.
Anything else you'd like to say, sir?
No, I appreciate being on.
Appreciate coming on the show.